I was 37 when I died, and I thought my prayers had always reached heaven. I was wrong. My name is Sarah Brennan, and on March 14, 2019, at 4:47 in the afternoon, my heart stopped beating for 11 minutes and 42 seconds. What I saw in those minutes changed everything I thought I knew about faith, about God, and about the woman I had become. Before we continue, close your eyes and whisper the word light. If you feel something move inside, stay. The light still speaks. And what it showed me that day in that cold hospital room in Ashford was the exact moment my prayers stopped reaching heaven. Not because God had abandoned me, but because I had stopped truly speaking to Him. The morning it happened, I woke up like I always did. The alarm at 6:15, the same ringtone I'd heard for 5 years. I reached over and turned it off without opening my eyes. The room was cold. I could feel the draft coming through the window I never fully closed. Outside, I could hear the low hum of traffic starting to build. Ashford was waking up. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling. The paint was cracked in the corner near the closet. I'd noticed it months ago, but never fixed it. There were a lot of things like that in my life, small cracks I'd learned to ignore. I got up, walked to the bathroom, turned on the shower. The water took 2 minutes to get warm. I counted the seconds, like I always did, 120. I stepped in and let the water run over my face. It felt good, but it didn't feel like anything more than water. I washed my hair, rinsed, turned off the tap, wrapped myself in the towel that hung on the same hook every single day. I looked at myself in the mirror. Brown eyes, a few lines starting to show near my mouth. I didn't smile much anymore. I wasn't sad. I just wasn't anything. I got dressed, black pants, white blouse, the same uniform I'd worn to the clinic for 12 years. I worked as a receptionist at a family practice on the east side of town. I liked the job well enough. It was steady, predictable. I answered phones, scheduled appointments, smiled at people who didn't really see me. I was good at being invisible. I made coffee in the kitchen. The machine sputtered like it always did. I poured it into the same blue mug, added cream, 1 spoon of sugar. I sat at the small table by the window and looked out at the street below. A woman walked by with a stroller. A man in a gray coat hurried past, phone pressed to his ear. Life kept moving. I took a sip. It was too hot. I waited, took another. Then I did what I'd done every morning for as long as I could remember. I folded my hands, bowed my head, and prayed. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Please bless my work. Keep me safe. Guide me. Amen. The words came out smooth, automatic, like a script I'd memorized years ago. I didn't feel anything when I said them, but I said them anyway. Because that's what you were supposed to do. That's what faith looked like. Or so I thought. I grabbed my coat, locked the door behind me, and walked to the bus stop. The air was sharp. Early spring, but winter hadn't fully let go yet. I stood there with 4 other people. None of us spoke. We just waited. The bus came. I got on. Found a seat near the back. Put in my headphones but didn't play any music. I just wanted the noise to stop. I watched the city pass by through the window. Gray buildings. Empty lots, a church with a crooked cross on top. I used to go there when I first moved to Ashford. Every Sunday, I'd sit in the 3rd row on the left side. I'd sing the hymns. I'd listen to the sermons. I'd shake hands during the greeting time. But over the years, I went less and less. First, I missed 1 Sunday, then 2, then a month. Then I just stopped going altogether. It wasn't that I stopped believing. I just stopped feeling like it mattered whether I was there or not.
God was everywhere, right? So why did I need to be in a building? I got to work at 8. Unlocked the front door, turned on the lights. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and old magazines. I sat at my desk, turned on the computer, and started my day. Patients came in. I checked them in. I smiled. I asked how they were. They said fine. I said great. We both knew neither of us meant it. At noon, I ate lunch in the break room, a sandwich I'd made the night before, turkey and cheese. I scrolled through my phone while I ate. Social media, news, pictures of people I barely knew living lives that looked shinier than mine. I put the phone down and stared at the wall. There was a poster there. It said, "You are stronger than you think." I didn't feel strong. I felt tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that sits in your bones and doesn't leave. At 3:30, I felt it. A tightness in my chest. At first, I thought it was just stress. Or maybe I'd eaten too fast. But then the tightness turned into pressure, and the pressure turned into pain. Sharp, heavy, like someone was pressing their fist into the center of my ribs. I stood up from my desk. The room tilted. I reached out to steady myself, but my hand missed the edge of the counter. I heard someone shout my name, Dr. Patel. He was there, his hands on my shoulders, asking me something. But I couldn't hear the words. Everything sounded like it was underwater. I tried to answer, but my mouth wouldn't move. The pain spread, down my arm, up my neck, into my jaw. My legs gave out. I felt the floor meet my knees, hard, cold. Then I was on my back, faces above me, voices. Someone was calling 911. Someone else was saying my name over and over. Sarah, Sarah, stay with us, Sarah. But I wasn't staying. I was leaving. The pain was unbearable. And then suddenly, it wasn't. It stopped. Everything stopped. The noise, the voices, the pain. And I felt light. So light. Like I was made of air. I opened my eyes. But I wasn't in the clinic anymore. I was standing. No. Floating. I looked down and saw them. Dr. Patel, 2 nurses. They were kneeling over something on the floor. It took me a second to realize what I was looking at. It was me. My body. Lying there. Eyes closed. Lips turning blue. They were doing compressions. One of the nurses was counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. I watched them work. I wanted to tell them I was okay. That I was right here. But I couldn't speak. And then I realized something. I didn't want to go back. Not because I was afraid, but because for the first time in years, I felt free. The weight I'd been carrying was gone. I turned away from my body and looked up. And that's when I saw it. The light. It wasn't bright like a spotlight. It was soft, warm. It filled the air around me like golden dust. And I knew, without anyone telling me, that I needed to go toward it. I moved. Not by walking. I just thought about moving, and I moved. The clinic faded behind me. The walls dissolved, the ceiling disappeared, and I was somewhere else, a place between, not earth, not heaven, just space, endless and quiet. I felt a presence beside me. I turned, and there he was. Jesus. I don't know how I knew it was him. He didn't look like the paintings I'd seen in Sunday school. He didn't have a glowing halo or white robes. He looked like a man, real, solid, but his eyes held everything. All the light in the universe, all the love I'd ever wanted, all the truth I'd ever feared. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at me. And I felt seen, truly seen. For the first time in my entire life, I opened my mouth to say something, to explain, to apologize. But he raised his hand gently, and I stopped. "Do you want to see what I see?" he asked. His voice wasn't loud. It was quiet, but it filled everything. I nodded. I didn't trust myself to speak. He reached out and took my hand. And the world shifted. Suddenly, I was standing in my apartment. But it wasn't the present. It was years ago. I could tell by the furniture, the old couch I'd donated, the calendar on the wall from 2011. I saw myself, younger, maybe 25. I was sitting on the floor with my Bible open in my lap. I was crying. I remembered this moment. I'd just lost my mother. Cancer. It had taken her in 6 months. I was shattered. I was praying, really praying, pouring my heart out. begging God to help me understand why, begging Him to take the pain away, to give me peace. And as I watched, I saw something I'd never seen before. My prayers. They rose from me like light, like threads of gold lifting into the air, and they didn't stop. They went up, higher, through the ceiling, through the sky, all the way to Him. Jesus stood beside me, watching. "I heard them," He said, "every word. I felt your heart break, and I caught every tear." I looked at Him. "Why are you showing me this?" He smiled, sad, gentle, "Because you need to see the difference." The scene changed. Now I was in my apartment again. But this time it was recent, maybe 6 months ago. I was sitting at the same table where I'd prayed that morning. I was saying grace before dinner, hands folded, head bowed. "Thank you for this food. Bless it to my body. Amen." I watched myself say the words, fast, flat, empty, and then I saw it. Or rather, I didn't see it. The prayers, they didn't rise. They just hung there in the air around me, like smoke that had nowhere to go. They faded, dissolved, disappeared before they even left the room. I felt my chest tighten. "Why?" I whispered. "Why didn't they reach you?" Jesus turned to me. His expression wasn't angry. It was sorrowful. "Because you weren't really speaking to me," He said. "You were speaking to the idea of me. You were going through the motions, saying the words you thought you were supposed to say. But your heart wasn't in it. Your heart wasn't even present." I felt tears streaming down my face. I didn't even know I could cry here, but I was. I was sobbing. "I didn't mean to," I said. "I thought I was doing it right. I thought that's what faith was. Just showing up, just saying the words." Jesus shook His head slowly. "Faith without connection is just ritual," He said, "and ritual without love is empty. You stopped seeking me, Sarah. You stopped searching for my presence. You treated prayer like a checklist, something to get through so you could move on with your day. And when you do that, the words don't carry weight. They don't carry your heart, so they don't reach me. Not because I'm not listening, but because you're not really speaking." He waved His hand, and the scene shifted again. I was back in my apartment. Different year. I was younger still. Maybe 22. I was on my knees beside my bed. I was praying for a friend who was sick. I was praying with everything I had. And again, I saw the light rise, the prayers soaring upward, bright, strong, alive. Then the scene shifted forward. I was 30, sitting in church, head bowed during a group prayer. But I was thinking about what I was going to make for lunch. I was thinking about a text I needed to send. The pastor's voice was just background noise. I looked like I was praying, but I wasn't. And again, nothing rose. The air around me was still, dead. I turned away. I couldn't watch anymore. "I understand," I whispered. "I understand now, but it's too late, isn't it?" Jesus stepped closer. His hand rested on my shoulder. "It's never too late to return," He said. "But you have to choose to. You have to decide that you want more than religion, more than routine. You have to want me, not the version of me you've made safe, not the version that fits into your schedule, but me, the real me, the one who knows every secret you've buried, every wound you've hidden, every prayer you've spoken, and every prayer you've swallowed. You have to come back with your whole heart, or not at all." I looked up at Him, tears blurring my vision. "How? How do I come back?" He smiled. "You start by being honest. Stop pretending you're fine when you're not. Stop pretending you have all the answers when you don't. Stop hiding behind the mask of a good Christian. I don't want your performance, Sarah. I want your heart. Raw, broken, messy, real. That's where I meet people." Not in their perfection, but in their surrender. I felt something crack open inside me, something I'd kept locked for years. I thought if I admitted I was struggling, it meant I didn't have enough faith, I said. I thought I had to be strong, to have it all together. Jesus shook his head. Strength isn't pretending you don't need help. Strength is admitting you do. And faith isn't certainty. Faith is trust, even when you can't see the way, even when you don't understand. You don't have to have all the answers, Sarah. You just have to be willing to ask the questions. Honestly. He led me forward, and I saw more. I saw the moments I'd chosen silence over honesty. The times I'd smiled and said, "I'm blessed," when inside I was drowning. The times I'd posted Bible verses on social media while my heart felt cold and distant. The times I'd judged others for their struggles while hiding my own. I saw the pride I didn't even know I carried. The subtle belief that I was doing better than others because I prayed every day, because I didn't drink, because I didn't curse, because I went to church once upon a time. I saw how I'd turned faith into a measuring stick, a way to feel superior, a way to avoid the deeper work of actually knowing God. And every time I did that, my prayers lost their power. Because they weren't born from humility. They were born from ego. And ego has no place in the presence of the divine. I sank to my knees, or whatever you call kneeling when you don't have a physical body. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't see it. I didn't see how far I'd drifted." Jesus knelt beside me, his hand on the back of my head. "I know," he said softly, "but now you do. And that's the first step. Seeing it, owning it, not making excuses, not blaming your circumstances, just acknowledging the truth. You walked away from me slowly, one small choice at a time, and you can walk back the same way. One small choice at a time, but you have to choose it, every single day." He lifted my chin so I was looking at him. "Do you want to go back?" he asked. "To your life? To your body?" I hesitated. "I don't know if I can do it," I said. "I don't know if I'm strong enough to change." "You're not," he said. "Not on your own, but you don't have to be. I'll be with you, every step, every breath, every prayer, but only if you let me in, really in, not just on Sundays." Not just when things are hard, all the time, in the mundane, in the boring, in the ordinary moments that make up a life. That's where I want to be, not just in your crises, but in your mornings, in your coffee, in your commute, in your work, in your rest. I want all of you, not just the parts you think are holy. I closed my eyes. I felt something shift, deep inside, like a door I'd locked years ago was finally opening. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, I want to go back. I want to try again. I want to know you, really know you." Jesus smiled. "Then let's go." He touched my forehead, and everything went white. The next thing I felt was pain, searing, sharp. My chest felt like it was on fire. I gasped. Air rushed into my lungs. It hurt. God, it hurt. But it meant I was alive. I heard voices, beeping machines, hands on my arms. Someone was saying my name. I opened my eyes. The ceiling was white. Fluorescent lights. I was in a hospital. Dr. Patel's face appeared above me. "Sarah. Sarah, can you hear me?" I tried to speak, but my throat was raw. I nodded instead. He exhaled, relief flooding his face. "You're okay. You're okay. You had a heart attack. We brought you back. You were gone for almost 12 minutes. I closed my eyes. 12 minutes. An eternity. And yet, not enough. I spent 3 days in the hospital. They ran tests, put in a stent, told me I needed to change my lifestyle, less stress, better diet, more movement. I nodded and agreed. But I knew the real change wasn't physical. It was deeper than that. When I got home, the apartment looked the same. But I didn't. I walked to the table where I used to pray. I sat down. And for the first time in years, I didn't know what to say. I didn't have a script. I didn't have a formula. I just sat there in the silence. And then, slowly, I started to speak. Not out loud. Just in my heart. "Jesus, I don't really know how to do this anymore. I don't know how to pray like I used to. I'm scared I'll mess it up again. I'm scared I'll drift away and not even notice. But I don't want that. I don't want to go through the motions. I want to really know you. I want my prayers to reach you. Not because I say the right words, but because my heart is in them. So here I am, broken, confused, but willing. Please teach me again. And this time, I felt it, that warmth, that presence, the same one I'd felt when he held my hand. He was there, not in a vision, not in a dramatic revelation, just there, quietly, gently, in the stillness of my small kitchen. And I knew he'd heard me. I knew it reached him, because it came from the truest part of me. The days that followed weren't easy. I had to relearn everything. How to pray. How to read the Bible not as a duty, but as a conversation. How to show up to church, not to check a box, but to actually worship. How to be honest when people asked how I was doing. To say I'm struggling instead of I'm fine. It felt vulnerable. It felt risky, but it felt real. And that made all the difference. I started noticing things I'd missed before. The way light came through my window in the morning, the sound of birds outside, the taste of my coffee, the smile of a stranger, small things, ordinary things. But now they felt like gifts, like whispers from God reminding me he was there, in the details, in the mundane, not just in the mountaintop moments, but in the valleys too, especially in the valleys. One Sunday, I went back to that church with the crooked cross. I sat in the same pew I used to sit in, third row, left side. I sang the hymns. But this time, I meant them. I listened to the sermon, and I let it sink in. I stayed after the service and talked to people, really talked, not just surface-level pleasantries. I shared a little bit of my story, not the whole thing, but enough. And I was surprised by how many people resonated. How many people had felt the same way, distant, disconnected, going through the motions. We weren't alone. We just thought we were, because we were all wearing masks, pretending we had it all together. But when one person takes off the mask, it gives permission for others to do the same. And that's where real community begins. In honesty, in vulnerability, in the admission that we're all just trying to figure this out. Months passed, then a year. My life didn't look that different from the outside. I still lived in the same apartment, still worked at the same clinic, still took the same bus. But everything felt different. Because I was different. I prayed every day, but not like before. I didn't rush through it. I didn't treat it like a chore. I treated it like a conversation with someone I loved. Sometimes I prayed in the morning, sometimes at night, sometimes in the middle of the day when something reminded me of him. I prayed when I was happy, when I was sad, when I was confused, when I was grateful. I prayed with words. I prayed in silence. I prayed with tears. I prayed with laughter. And every time I felt him there. Not always in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, steady way, like a hand on my shoulder, a warmth in my chest, a peace that didn't make sense given my circumstances. That's how I knew he was listening. Not because my life became perfect, but because I wasn't walking through it alone anymore. I think about that day a lot. The day I died. The day I saw the moment my prayers stopped reaching heaven. It sounds terrifying when I say it like that. And it was. But it was also the greatest gift I've ever been given. Because it woke me up. It showed me the truth I'd been avoiding. That faith isn't about appearances. It's not about how often you go to church or how many Bible verses you can quote. It's about connection. It's about relationship. It's about showing up with your whole heart, even when your heart is broken. Especially when your heart is broken. Because that's when we're most honest. That's when we stop pretending. And that's when God can actually reach us. Not the version of us we want him to see, but the version of us that really exists. Messy, flawed, human. That's who he loves. That's who he died for. Not the person we're trying to become, but the person we already are. For a long moment, I stood in the quiet between heaven and earth, between who I was and who I'm becoming. And I realized something. Prayer isn't magic. It's not a formula. It's not about saying the right words in the right order. It's about being present, being honest, being willing to let God into the places we usually keep hidden. And when we do that, everything changes. Not because God changes, but because we do. We start to see Him everywhere, in the sunrise, in the struggle, in the stranger who holds the door, in the friend who calls at just the right time, in the stillness of our own hearts when we finally stop running. He's always been there. We just forgot how to look. If this story touched something in you, I want you to do something. Not for me, but for yourself. Write the words true faith in the comments below. Not because it's going to change the algorithm, not because I need the engagement, but because it's an act of recognition. A way of saying, I see it too. I've felt that distance. I've gone through the motions. And I want something more. I want something real. When you write those words, you're not just commenting on a video. You're making a declaration to yourself, to God, that you're ready to stop pretending, that you're ready to pray with your whole heart again. Even if it's messy, even if you don't have the words, the light still waits. It always has. It's just waiting for you to turn toward it, honestly, vulnerably, completely. And when you do, I promise you this, your prayers will rise again, not because you earned it, but because that's what happens when a heart opens. It finds its way home.